Hey, I'm Carrie. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome for the first time. All around, welcome. I'm Carrieblogger, a career full-time freelancer on Fiverr.com where I work as a copywriter. So in today's Freelance Friday video, I'm talking about a very exciting topic, earnings volatility. I kind of get this question a lot, or this series of questions, and it always stems from like, how much do you do a day? How many orders do you have a week? How much do you earn in a month? And those kind of like interval-based analytics questions. And in a previous video, I was super transparent, as I always aim to be, about how much I make on Fiverr. That video is up here with the thumbnail for you to easily find. So the volatility of earnings is so stressful. I completely understand, and I really hope that this video gives you some insight into the realistic world of freelancing, what it really looks like for a full-time freelancer like me. It's not all about, I don't know, sports cars in the background, flashing DJ lights, like,
if you're a freelancer, you understand how to build your business and hustle hard.
It's not my jam. It's just real life for me, and I hope that this is interesting for you. Today I'm going to be diving in a little bit into like one of the problems of freelancing, or the challenges, is that things are never the same. Like ever. Day to day, not the same. Month to month, not the same. All of a sudden one gig's really popular for like 2 months. I consider myself to be a branding expert for 2 months of my life. And then the next 2 months, all of a sudden I'm back to writing tons of Amazon listings, and that's just the way things go. I'm sure that things are a little bit more flexible, even because I sell exclusively on a platform called Fiverr. If you haven't heard of it, check it out, it's pretty cool. Because I think that there is a little bit to say about like algorithms and how the platform is kind of pushing certain services in response to customer needs. And I'm not actively marketing at all. Things are just the way the wind blows in terms of how people show up and what they're asking for from me. So when you ask a freelancer those kinds of questions, how many orders do you have a day? How much time do you spend at work? How much do you earn in a week? It honestly all depends. It depends. That's all I can say. So as I mentioned, most of this volatility comes from the actual platform itself. It also happens seasonally somewhat. I'm gonna try to do a little bit of like math to see if I can find some trends in that. But mostly, it's entirely based on my own personal experience. So this is all, whatever that word is that I can't remember. Insert here if I remember later. But honestly, this whole like random universe volatility, unknowing inconsistency honestly works so well for me in my life. It just does. Like when I don't want to be busy, somehow I'm just not busy. I'm not. And I don't honestly believe in like the law of attraction and all that, although I have been looking into it more recently just because I think it's this much interesting. But yeah, like I went to Europe for a month last summer, and I didn't want to turn off my gigs and go fully on vacation because I wanted to keep earning a little bit. And I really just said to myself, you know, if I get too busy, I'll go on vacation mode. I'll stop working because I want to enjoy my vacation, but I don't entirely want to stop earning for the month. So hopefully it'll just slow down, it'll be calm, and then I can work occasionally while I'm on vacation. And you know what happened? That exactly happened. I was not overworked at all. I earned enough to like pay for our vacation while we were doing it. It was so easy and breezy and wonderful, and I don't know what to say except it just worked. And then other times when I'm super chill, I'll just magically get really busy, and so it just naturally kind of fills up my days, and it just fluctuates perfectly in line with my life. I don't know what to say. I'm just really lucky. I don't think anyone else is as lucky as I am. Am I just actually a lucky person? I don't know. But that means that it's really hard to track. So I track my earnings by day, by week, by month, and by year. That means I kind of have like internal personal goals of like the bare minimum that I want to earn every day, week, month, year, whatever. And that's just kind of a personal goal. So when I'm tracking all of those things, it can be a little bit frustrating if I go through like a low week or 2 low weeks in a row, whatever, because I'm like, oh no, I'm not meeting my goal. But then the next week I get this massive influx of orders, and I'm like, however many this is, over my imaginary goal. And so that makes me feel better. It's all just a giant roller coaster. And that's what's so hard about freelancing, is you don't know how much you're gonna earn. There's no clear salary. It's all just up in the air. And especially starting the year is most stressful because I'm not sure how things are gonna end up at the end of the year. It's a lot.
So on the ultra micro side of things, I keep track on a daily basis.
Every single week I have a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday list where I kind of do the math and add up the total of what I've earned each single day. Of course, as I mentioned in my previous video about freelance taxes, I always estimate based on a 50% take-home model. So that's assuming the absolute worst case scenario that at the end of the day, what I'm going to end up with is 50% and not the 100% that I see when I look at my orders. So on the left in the purple, we can see what I consider to be a pretty darn average week. I delivered something every day, even if on the last day that was just a tip on Sunday. And the total ended up being about $1,000 for the week. In the middle in the green, I have also what I consider to be an average week by income, but not an average week by orders. So you can see that for 3 days, I didn't do any work at all, which was really nice. I was at the end of a vacation. But of course, I had 2 days of really large orders that made up for it, so that by the end of the week, it was even better than my quote unquote average. And then of course on the right, we have just a crazy week. This is so far the highest value week I've had this whole year. And I track, oddly enough, from July to June, just because that's how my Bujo works. But yeah, so that you can see is the way high end. So looking at these 3 weeks, you can see that it's so hard to tell people how much I do every single day, how much I earn in a week, because honestly, it just really depends. Another thing that I track in my bullet journal is my weekly earnings. Again, this is all 50% take home, so I don't even ever write down the full value. And I don't know if you can tell in this graph, but I wasn't quite optimistic enough. I honestly didn't make my graph large enough when I structured my bullet journal. So here's a version where you can actually see everything and my chart isn't cut off twice. So here's the pretty version. Again, this is tracking from July to January. You can see just the crazy amount week to week, how much things change in my earnings. The crazy spikes that you see there where it dips all the way back down again are actually moments when I'm on vacation. Both of those times were just like a mad panic. I was working so hard with those huge spikes that I was like, you know what, I just have to go on vacation. And so that's why it immediately dipped down. That's not usually typical. As you can see, the first half of the graph is much more normal, or I have little bits of spikes where I'm a little bit busy, but nothing so crazy intense. And I honestly haven't had spikes like this where it was massive high earnings ever in my whole career so far. So seeing that twice, I don't know if that's just a shift toward, I don't know, increased popularity, maybe beyond the demands of what I can offer by myself, but I think that it was just kind of 2 spikes right before the end of the year when people were trying to finish off their end of year budgets and spend their money. And then also, I guess, Black Friday weekend, that was like Thanksgiving time. And I'm not really sure why that spiked there then too. I really can't make a steadfast rule about it just because it's not consistent enough to really show, but I do notice that the middle of the month is the highest for me in terms of earnings. It almost always goes down at the end of the month, and it's just a little slow at the very beginning. So I'd say the middle 2 weeks are the biggest. You can see that a little bit with those little rises and hills, but again, that's not always true. I just got to show you this cute, well, I don't know if you think it's cute. I think it's cute. I track my monthly earnings in my bullet journal as well, in the paper version. And then of course I also have digital versions. So let's skip over to that. Here's what Fiverr shows for my analytics of the bar chart is my actual earnings, and they have them 100% value, not my 50% take home. And then that little line graph there is the number of orders. So here's just one quick example. In July, you can see my earnings were actually equivalent to pretty much normal. It was just a little bit of a low month, but not crazy. That was actually the month I was on vacation for like the entire month, and it worked out super well because the actual number of orders were really, really low, but the value of those orders ended up being equivalent to a regular month. Even seasonally, if we switch over to 2018, I try to look for some patterns to see if it's a low month, if that's average or normal for me. I could see, oh look, August has low orders and low revenue. I guess the end of summer must just be kind of low. I'm also seeing that in April, a lower month with more low value orders in quantity. That must be low, right? But then I switch over to 2017, just the year before, and all of a sudden August was one of my rising months. And so it's kind of hard to see. I would say across the board, April tends to be a low month of the year, but even that is just kind of hard to navigate. It really is helpful if you look at your own trends, like I said, quarterly, kind of seeing what your trajectory is, and just making sure that nothing is so out of the ordinary that it is shocking to you. But in terms of how things are stable or not stable, I definitely have to say they definitely lean toward instability. If you are stressed out about the volatility and inconsistency of what you're earning, just really try your best to step back. Don't even look at it per month. Look at it in quarters if you have enough data to do that, because that's going to make you feel so much more like you have a traditional salary if you just think, what's the average? What does it all boil down to at the end of the day? Instead of being obsessed with up and downs, it's like if you're looking at the stock market, don't look at your I can't say stocks. Don't look at your stocks like minute to minute, hour to hour. Look at them longer term, look at the projection, see where it's going, because that's going to be so much less stressful for you and just more, honestly, in my opinion, relevant and realistic. And like I said, if you don't have 3 months worth of data yet to see what you're earning and what your consistent level is, it can be so stressful because all you have to look at is that tiny little subsection of a roller coaster of data. And I totally understand why that can be really difficult. So just as much as you can, take a breath, step on back, kind of project out from there. Don't be too optimistic because then you'll just be bummed. Look to the future, add it all up, average, however you can make it to feel better about yourself. But I totally understand that can be hard. The other thing is that, as I mentioned in last week's video, which was about what I sell, what I don't sell anymore, how things have changed over the years in terms of my gigs, I also mentioned then that gigs on Fiverr, in my opinion, go through different phases of popularity. So even if it's a high versus low season, different than that, there will be times when I'm super packed with product description orders. Then the next month it's all about honest reviews. And then the next month I have tons of website clients. And so that goes through a lot of kind of popularity traffic dips and ebbs and flows and whatever this is. You just have to be aware that if you're starting out and things are low right now, you could be in a low spell. And also if it was high a month ago and now it suddenly dropped out, that might not be because you've lost your whole audience or that it's not a good idea to sell it. That could just very well be because you're in one of those dips in traffic for the moment. So kind of the more dispersed you can be, the more variety of things you can offer. I think that that's a really good strategy because for me personally, when one thing dips in popularity, there's always something else to rise up and take the top spot. So if you like this video and my fresh take on this whole thing, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up and comment below if you have any questions for a future Freelance Friday video. I release Freelance Friday every single Friday, you guessed it, and I would really appreciate your subscription to my channel. So that's all for me today. See you next week and let's get back to work.